Hello, my name is Joanna Guzman Navarro, and this presentation is to discuss the internship I did for the Mariposa and Bridging Brothers program as part of the fulfillment of the requirements for PUF 596 at California State University, Dominguez Hills. Here's an overview of what is going to be covered in this presentation. First, I'll summarize the internship, then I'll present the research, and lastly, the recommendations that I have for the program. Internship. The organization where I did my internship is the Napa County Office of Education. This is one of California's 58 county offices of education that provide services to the school districts, and the mission of NCOE is to offer a broad range of student services in response to changing community needs, to support and collaborate with local school districts, and to disseminate research-based best practices to educators locally and statewide. Mariposa and Bridging Brothers are programs of the Napa County Office of Education's gang prevention efforts. Mariposa and Bridging Brothers serve youth in middle and high school, as well as the court and community schools and juvenile hall. They offer a safe place to meet weekly and build trust, improve interpersonal skills, and overcome struggles and peer pressure. Their mission is to build community and cultivate the leaders of tomorrow. The programs are very well respected by the community and the school district. They provide excellent programming to the Latino and other brisk youth at various school sites with very limited funding. According to the Mariposa website, 94% of the participants say that they have goals to go to college, and 92% say that they do things that make a difference in their school and in their community. However, the challenge that the programs face to meet their mission is funding and low staff. With only one staff member, it is unrealistic to facilitate and manage all the groups that are offered at 12 different school sites. Through my internship, it was my responsibility to create a volunteer program for Mariposa and Bridging Brothers to have individuals help cover and facilitate groups at the different school sites. My first responsibility was volunteer recruitment. I created a flyer and I shared it through social media and email, and I also printed and disseminated in the community college and coffee shops where college students would likely to go. The target audience that we wanted for the volunteer training was young adults and college students. I was also responsible for creating the content for the actual training, and I came up with a 25-hour long training which took place July 31st through August 3rd. And the content of the training included the purpose and the history of the organization and the programs, a personality assessment and leadership training. The volunteers also received youth mental health first aid training, and lastly, they learned how to facilitate a youth group and communication skills. Furthermore, I scheduled guest speakers with expertise on the topics that were covered during the sessions of the training. One of the problems that I found was that it was really hard to recruit volunteers. I actually only ended up getting 7 participants, and out of those 7 participants, only 3 of them are committed volunteers and will be leading youth groups throughout the 2017-2018 school year. Research. Why are volunteers important to organizations that are suffering financially? Bottom line is volunteers are valuable and they save money. In professional administration of volunteer program, now more than ever, a case example, Linda Vinton examined 2 community-based aging services agencies. In the study, it was determined that 871 volunteers performed more than 30,000 volunteer hours to 226 clients valued at almost $300,000 compared to the $100,000 outlay. So volunteer programs can be the solution for organizations and programs who are suffering financially to provide services while maintaining low cost. Also, in order to have a successful volunteer program, it's important to understand the reasons why people volunteer in the first place. So, reasons individuals might volunteer include empathetic motivation, which is identifying with the need of another person. An opposite extreme is egoism, which is when an individual volunteers out of their own self-interest and personal benefit. The Volunteer Functions Inventory produced a measurement tool applied to a wide range of volunteers to fulfill six psychological functional needs as follows. 1. Social, so spending time with friends and gaining approval of admired individuals. 2. Career, job related benefits or advancement. 3. Understanding and learning or practicing skills or abilities. 4. Values expressing altruistic and humanitarian concerns. 5. Protective to reduce guilt over feeling more fortunate or escaping personal problems. And 6. Enhancement gaining satisfaction from personal growth or esteem. The Volunteer Functions Inventory also rated potential rewards that motivate individuals to volunteer. So, examples of rewards include thank you letters, prizes, publicity, appreciation dinners, and conferences. Mariposa and Bridging Brothers are school-based programs, so it is important to see the relationship and the benefit of having volunteers help with school-based programs. A study by Mayer, Grossman, and Du Bois using volunteer mentors to improve the academic outcome of underserved students examined how using volunteers in school-based mentoring programs had an impact on improving academic goals. There were 1,139 students from 71 schools that had mentoring programs and found significant improvements in the teacher-rated academic performance and self-reported scholastic efficiency of mentored students. Relationships between students and their mentors were key in the excellent results. Students who met with their counselors once a week and interacted outside of a large group setting were especially successful. Although the research is in favor of volunteer programs for school-based programs, the reality is that volunteer recruitment is very challenging. In competition or collaboration, the effect of nonprofit brand image of volunteer recruitment strategy, it examined competing or collaborating with other organizations. The risk with collaboration is that the volunteers are free to choose and move between organizations and even choose one over the other. On the other hand, the competitive approach is relatively expensive because it involves each organization developing and implementing their own marketing campaigns. Some benefits from market competition is the attention on the notion of brand image and personality that the organization would receive. On the other hand, there have been various organizations who have successfully collaborated with each other to improve efficiencies and achieve economic of scale. The conclusion of the study was that there is not one best approach, as the approach will depend on every organization. Not only is volunteer recruitment challenging, but volunteer retention could be problematic as well. Volunteer retention, the importance of organizational support had psychological contract breach studied how to retain volunteers. They found that among employers in which they had a supportive organizational environment, perceiving that they had job satisfaction and felt support from their direct supervisor was associated with repeat volunteering. Therefore, a positive organizational culture and environment results in more individuals wanting to volunteer for that organization. Other things to consider when working with volunteers is the generation consideration. According to Whipple in her article, Training Multi-Generational Audiences from Boomers to Generation Y, there are four distinct generations working and volunteering together for the first time in history. And Mariposa and Bridging Brothers, our target audience for volunteers are young adults and college students. So the generations that we would focus on would be the Generation Xers, those who were born between 1965 and 1977, and the Millennials, those who were born between 1977 and the year 2000. Considerations to have in mind when working with Generation Xers is that they value entrepreneurial and independence. They like flexibility and creativity, and they also focus more on their own success rather than that of the organization, and view developing skills they learn and taking it with them to new opportunities. They also prefer managing their own time opposed to having authority. Considerations when working with millennials is that they are highly influenced by the revolution of technology. Since they were raised by parents who structure their activities around self esteem and future success, this generation also values positive reinforcement, autonomy, money, and technology. Recommendations. Volunteer recruitment was very difficult. My first recommendation would be to collaborate with other organizations to dig into their pool of volunteers and invite them to also participate with Mariposa and Bridging Brothers. The programs already have a collaboration with a nonprofit called NEWS, which is a domestic violence and sexual abuse services agency which offers support and advocacy to victims of domestic violence and sexual abuse. NEWS has an outreach manager who works with Mariposa and Bridging Brothers on implementing curriculum on violence prevention. So it is pretty natural that the agency already supports these two programs, and they already have a volunteer program as well. So it would be a good collaboration to have the volunteers that they train to become victim advocates to also become group facilitators for Mariposa and Bridging Brothers. A few weeks ago, I was actually invited by their volunteer coordinator to speak at their volunteer training, and I spoke to them about the volunteer opportunities that we had at Mariposa and Bridging Brothers and passed around a sign up sheet and got about 10 individuals who said they were interested in also volunteering for these programs. The next recommendation is to provide an online training. So the in-person training that I facilitated over the summer was 25 hours long, and I think it was difficult for people to take time off of work to attend the training. In addition to that, in learning about how to work with Generation Xers and the millennials, we learned that they really want more flexibility and also have an appreciation for technology. So, in order to provide more flexibility and attract more individuals to go through the training, I came up with the idea of doing an online training using YouTube and created the Mariposa program channel. I have uploaded 7 videos which cover the history of the organization and the programs, how to develop leadership skills, communication skills, and group facilitation. And there are going to be questions that are going to go along with the videos that the people who complete the training would answer and submit as proof that they completed the training and got the main points that we wanted them to take from it. However, those who do complete the online training will still have to go through all the HR procedures that all volunteers have to go through, which includes having a background check, tuberculosis clearance, and an application process that they have to complete. The last recommendation is that a volunteer program really requires a lot of management and a person to really be in charge of it full time. So, since obviously the whole reason why I created the volunteer program in the first place for Mariposa and Bridging Brothers was because they do not have a lot of funding, a solution could be to hire an AmeriCorps VIP, which would be in charge of recruiting volunteers for the programs. And these members, since they are part of it's kind of like the Peace Corps, but in the United States, the organization would only have to pay $7,000 for the individual, which will be matched by AmeriCorps, and they would be fully in charge of managing the volunteer program for Mariposa and Bridging Brothers. On that note, it is also important to keep in mind to make sure that we thank our volunteers and make them feel appreciated, and also let them know about the impact that they are having on the students that they are working with. Thank you very much for watching this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.